Hello and welcome to Marketing Storytime with Momo. I am Momo, so welcome. It's good to have you here. If this is your first time stumbling on my video or watching any of my videos, welcome. Thank you for stopping by. And if you're a returning viewer, 2 thumbs up to you. Thank you so much for coming back. Now, before we move ahead, like I always do, let's pause. Take a second, look below. Yes, below. Yes, pause, look, and hit the subscribe button. Okay? Please subscribe. All right? Let's grow the Momo gang. Momo squad. Okay? Let's grow the squad team. All right, so thank you for stopping by. It's a pleasure. It's really awesome to have you here. So welcome. Before we move ahead, like I always do, grab a cup of coffee, grab a cup of tea, or grab a cup of water. I have water here today. And let's have this chit chat. It's not going to be a long one, hopefully. I always say, anytime I say it's not going to be a long one, I end up doing long. But I'm really trying to keep my videos to 12 minutes and below. Anyways, so welcome. It's good to have you here. Once again, don't forget to subscribe below. Please subscribe, okay? So welcome. I'm sure you guys are wondering what we're going to talk about based on the topic. So the World Cup is in session and we've seen all sorts of dramatics happening. And some people have said, that, there's favoritism, there's different things. I will not talk. I was sad because my favorite player was knocked out. But he's still the greatest. CR7, he's still the greatest, okay? I have nothing but love for him. Anyways, let's come back to the topic today. So, yeah, I'm sure you're like, what can generate marketing from World Cup? That is a very interesting, conversation that we can have. So, like I said, welcome, and let's talk about it. So, this past weekend, or was it last week? No, this past weekend, the UK, England played Norway. Yeah, like, okay, they played. What next, Okay, and I agree. However, it generated so much buzz in the online world, in the digital space. You ask me how so? So, ahead of the match, England versus Norway, the match, Norwegian Air came out publicly. Let me pause there. I said this, I think it was last week or a few weeks ago, that I love when companies are bold. For you to be bold, that means you are sure of yourself. I really admire companies that are bold and they take their craft seriously. So Norwegian Air came out publicly and said they dared British Airways and said if they won, British Airways had to change their Instagram logo for one day and congratulating them pretty much. And if the reverse was to happen, they would do the same. Let me pause. That is the most friendly banter I have seen in marketing. Like, there was no drama, there was no fighting. They are competitors. However, they did respect each other enough to say, okay, let's have this internal, banter. Something that, do you know what? Let me say this. That banter they did not spend $1. It was just to change. So creativity always moves ahead. That's why I always say I want to meet the marketing team of Norwegian Air, because that's one of the most creative marketing campaigns I have seen in a long time. That was very creative because it didn't require any spending. It didn't require anything. All it needed was one person to click to change, their Instagram profile to the other person's image. logo rather. So what does this tell us? Marketing can be creative, marketing can be diverse, marketing, can just create so much more than just advertising. This campaign required no level of money or anything. I'm sure their MDs were very happy because the amount of traction this campaign got, oh my goodness. If I was the marketing manager, I'm going to be like, oops, did I just do something, And it was Norwegian Air that came up with it, but British Airways in turn benefited a lot from it. So let's try and go through the marketing lessons. The number one lesson is the campaign won before the match even started. So they brought this out and people started talking about it, tweeting about it, reposting it, and even other airlines joined in on the action. It just shows you that, it had a lot of social media conversations. It just shows you that, marketing can be creative. It gained a lot of media coverage, brand mentions, just different conversations online. It wasn't like money spent or anything. So great marketing creates anticipation, which is what it did. It created a lot of buzz. I'm sure based on that campaign, I don't have the numbers yet, but based off of that campaign, I am sure more people watched that England versus Norway match than they usually would have watched. So great, it creates great anticipation before the outcome, which is what this advert or this campaign did. That's the number one marketing lesson. The campaign won before the match started. I don't know which other, that's the goal for any marketing expert, is to create the amount of traction this campaign got. The number two is creativity beats budget. It was one Instagram post, one simple challenge and perfect timing. All three work together in their favor. This advert, as they didn't spend any money, it generated so much traction that even companies that spend multi-million dollars on their campaigns do not get this amount of traction. So sometimes you have to think outside the box. Let me pause here and beg MDs, CFOs, and all those people to allow the marketing team to breathe, to express themselves. Sometimes ideas might sound like, oh, I don't know. But if you give it a go, if you give it a try, it will generate this type of traction, which is what this has done. It created so much traction that, like I said, I'm sure the MDs of both companies were very excited about it. Number three lesson is your competitor can help amplify your brand. So this Norwegian Air, British Airways, they're competitors in the air. However, Norwegian Air pulled British Airways in. British Airways accepted. So it's one thing to pull people in, and it's another thing for them to accept it. Confident brands don't fear attention. They actually go for attention, because they are sure of themselves. They know what they are doing. They can beat their chest to it. The number four lesson I would say is marketing should be entertainment. There should be some fun. There should be some creative fun and ethical fun, not unethical fun, if you know what I mean. So this to me is ethical fun. It was just friendly banter. There was nothing major on it. It was timely because the World Cup is on. It was clever. It was human, it was fun, and it was shareable. So it was just ethical. Everything about it was ethical. There was no fighting, there was no exchange of words, there was no negativity about it. It was just, listen, if we win, you do this. If you win, we do it. So that just, that's just entertainment. And it created so much traction. People were talking about it. Twitter went, Google Gaga over it. And then now, all that being said, that's fantastic. I just want to bring it back here to Nigeria. In saying all of this, I want our brands in Nigeria to know that friendly banter is not illegal. Did you hear that? friendly banter is not illegal. Like, you can have friendly banter, as long as it's creative, it's, it's well thought out. It's not offending anyone's religion, it's not offending anyone's political views, it's not offending anyone's culture or anything like that. So friendly banter can actually win, because this created so much traction in the online space. They didn't have to spend ridiculous amount of money. So I'll give examples. It's like Peace challenging Ibom Air before a major sporting event. Maybe Peace is the carrier of one team and Ibom Air is the carrier of another team. It's about being friendly on it. This type of things can create a buzz. OPay and PalmPay create a social media challenge, and say who has the most, just something creative. You can reach out to me. I will help you with that creativity. Chicken Republic, Kilimanjaro, they can engage in jollof wars. That's so friendly and that's nice. GT Bank, Access Bank, they can do different things. So it's about being creative and thinking outside the box with your strategy, and allowing your marketing team to do what they were hired to do. The smartest brands understand that attention is earned through creativity, not interruption. Let me say that again. The smartest brands understand that attention is earned through creativity, not interruption. What do I mean by interruption? You create an ad and then someone in the corner, I think one of my posts on LinkedIn said it. Everyone thinks they are marketing experts. They come and they'll say, oh, this is how we should do it. This is what our competitors are doing, so we should do it. No, let your marketing team come up with the campaign. Let them present it and try it out. At least try it out. If it doesn't work the first time, take it down and then you reconvene and try another thing. But a lot of times what I've noticed in this part of the world is that people don't like taking risks. They don't like talking, they're very shielded. They don't want people to explore. But in exploring, like I said, as long as it's ethical and it's not offensive, explore away, try and have a little banter. This is British Airways, this is Norwegian Air. They are two big airlines, and it did not create any hula baloo online. So please, let's think outside the box a bit and do some of these adverts or campaigns that will make the company, some revenue, will make visibility easy, and would not require too much money being spent. Sometimes your biggest competitor is your biggest threat. Sometimes your biggest competitor isn't your biggest threat. Let me say that again. Sometimes your biggest competitor is not your biggest threat. In this case, British Airways and Norwegian Air, they're competitors, but there's no threat. There was no threat about it. They were out there minding their business. The brands that win tomorrow will be the ones that know how to create conversations, not just, campaigns. We've said this, we're in a digital era now. So you need to engage your end users as much as you can. And this was a fantastic and brilliant way to engage them. There was so much banter online. There was so much talk and everyone just had fun. It was friendly, At the end of the day, England beat Norway and Norway went ahead. I'll include some of the pictures here. Norway went ahead and wished them congratulations. And that is just the end of it. Like, there was no Holy Mother, there was nothing, there was no drama about it. That's the word I was looking for. There was no drama about it. So let us try and think outside the box. Give your team, your marketing team, permission to go a little extra and do what they are called to do. They are creative And creativity is what sells in the digital space. Like I said, this campaign did not require $1. It did not. If you're going to calculate the ROI, you're going to say, okay, you paid salaries, you did this, you did that. Yes, even without that campaign, you're still going to have those costs. So, like I always say, if you want this kind of campaigns, if you want someone to think outside the box for you and to bring in creative banter into your campaigns, your marketing campaigns, I'm here. Contact Momo's Marketing Consulting. We're here to help you anywhere you are. I think someone sent me a message the other day and said, do you consult outside of Nigeria? Absolutely. I have a few clients I work with in the US, so please, by all means, reach out to me. I am here. I'm available. I work anywhere with any time zone. All right? So until next time when we see, take care and God bless. All right? Bye for now.